All right, guys. So welcome, guys, to Peak Performance. This is a show that was really all about this book right here. This book is actually has started a brand new show for us here at Benzinga, going to be called Peak Performance. And I'm more than happy and glad to bring on the special guest, the first guest of this show, which is Todd Stoudemire, three-time World Series champion pitcher, author of The Observer, a modern fable on mastering your thoughts and emotion. And not only that, but someone I'm going to really truly look up to now. So welcome, Todd.
Mitch, man, I appreciate it. I'm humbled. I'm honored. I'm grateful. Man, it's just good to hang out with you here for a few minutes.
Yeah, when I first got this interview, I thought about it and I said, how could we relate it to finance and kind of bring it with our viewers? And I really thought about it. And the more I think about it, this should be a show itself and how we can keep working on getting towards peak performance, whether that be in sports, whether that be in finance or in your personal life or career.
Yeah, man, I love it. At the end of the day, it's like, it always goes back to creating clarity and awareness and what we're focused on in the moment. And what is that telling us? And what information does that give us? And then what do we do with that information? So I'm excited to share with you today as we jump in.
Yep, perfect. So I got a little opener here. You're a three-time World Series champion. You had a 14-year long career, 138 career Major League wins. Can you tell us what it was like to be drafted as the third overall pick in the 1985 draft by the Blue Jays? The dream come true.
Yeah, for sure. And crazy enough, it was my third time being drafted. First time was out of high school by the New York Yankees. And after growing up in Yankee Stadium, when my father was a pitcher for the New York Yankees, I would tell you I was hard pressed not to sign with the Yankees and go on to college, but seemed to be the right decision. Then I got drafted by the Cardinals and then ultimately by the Blue Jays. And I got to tell you, it was at the time I didn't even realize the blessing that it really was, is because the Blue Jays were really starting to put great teams together. And, I arrived at the perfect time. I was in the perfect place, perfect time. Everything was coming together. Had incredible teammates, had an incredible manager, played for, the Blue Jays turned out to be an unbelievable organization where we won some world championships. So it was a great ride.
Definitely. And one thing that I've always been interested in, I've watched baseball for years. So, pitching inside a dome, and I mean, I couldn't imagine pitching inside the Sky Dome at that time. How was it pitching in those sold out times or times of the World Series?
Yeah, when you look back on that, 1992, 1993, we drew over 4 million fans. But I'm going to tell you, it was even more than that, because the fact of the matter is that every seat was not only sold out, but there was someone in the seats, and they even created a standing room only area. And it was like night after night after night. It didn't matter where your eyes scanned the stadium. Everyone was in a seat everywhere. It was incredible. I got to tell you, the city of Toronto, the country of Canada, they truly got behind that organization, those ball clubs. And I always think back and I look back on those teams, and it's pretty crazy where 25 guys coming together from multiple different countries, different races, different religions, different skin colors, but all those 25 guys all coming together for a common vision, for a common purpose. And we truly became family. And I always kind of draw back, or I reflect back and I look at that situation and I'm like, what a thing for the world to take a look at, that different races, different countries, different religions, that people truly can come together. And at the end of the day, we truly all want the same things, and we're really one and the same.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed in the pandemic time is that, we've got to come more together. So hearing stories like that is definitely what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. I tell you, unfortunately, you kind of take a look at 2020 and it's like the pandemic brought the worst out in people, right? Instead of the best out in people. And, we own and operate a number of companies through a private equity fund, and my partner and I, and when the pandemic hit, it was like the first thing that came to our minds is there are going to be people that are going to come out of this worse because they're going to focus, but nothing but on the pandemic and how bad it is, and they're going to get caught and they're going to go down a rabbit hole. But then there's going to be other people and they're going to come out of it better because they're going to focus on what they can do. And at the end of the day, our focus matters and it counts. And if we're focused on things we can control and things that we can do and stay away from the things that we can't. So it kind of really became our message to all of our people, all the employees, all of the companies, all the executives, is let's focus on what we can focus on and just try to get better every single day.
Definitely, and that leads me right into my, my first question, kind of regarding more into the book, and that's morning routines. Morning routines that are mentioned to start the day. And what does your morning routine consist of, Todd? And why is the first hour of the day known as the championship hour?
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of named it Championship Hour because it's all about building the champion that lives inside of you. And, I believe we're all born with a seed of greatness. Obviously, all of our gifts and talents look different, but at the end of the day, we're all, in my opinion, we're born limitless. We're born for greatness. So I kind of named it the Championship Hour because that Championship Hour is all about building us. It's about building our mindsets. It's about building, our emotions and our emotional sets. It's about building our states. It's about growing our mind. It's about, meditating and prayer. It's about physically getting fit and taking care of our bodies. We got to take care of our minds. We got to take care of our hearts. We got to take care of our bodies. And for me, it's very simple. It's pretty crazy. It's become such a routine, right? And unconscious for me is that I wake up, I literally make the bed. It takes me, literally about 30 to 45 seconds. And then from there, brush my teeth. From brushing my teeth, I walk into my kitchen. I got 25 ounces of water waiting on me to hydrate my body from laying down all night to kind of rehydrate all my organs and kind of, gather my energy. I grab a cup of coffee. I head to my office. I spend a little bit of time praying. I push on a podcast. I'm trying to grow my mind, capture new ideas. I got my journal out. I'm capturing all of those. And then I'll file the best ideas in a certain file. And then from there, I turned one of my garages into a home gym because of COVID. And I literally walk down the hall, walk into the garage and spend about 60 minutes doing workouts. So my championship hour really has become 2 hours. But at the end of the day, from wake up until being done to being showered to being ready to take on the day, at 9 a.m., I'm ready. I'm ready mentally. I'm ready physically. I'm ready emotionally. I have incredible energy. I have great mental energy, emotional energy, physical energy, because here's what I don't know. I got to take care of me because I have no idea what's going to come at me during the day, right? I don't know what obstacles are going to come. I don't know what opportunities are going to show up. But if you're not prepared personally, when the opportunities show up, you will miss out on those opportunities. So I spend a lot of time preparing, just like I did for a game. I prepare for the game of life every single day through my championship hour.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I just started recently, and it was thanks to the book. I went right back to the morning workouts. With such an expanding and building that I have to do with my career, one thing that I've noticed is that maybe I'm just not focusing on the fitness side, and I need to continue focusing on that side to keep it going.
Mitch, what's awesome is not only is great for you physically, your health, your fitness. I always tell people, hey, if you don't take time to be healthy, you're going to have to take time to be sick, right? And it's like, man, who wants to take time to be sick? So what can we control? What can we focus on? But not only that, not only is it great for your body, it's great for your energy. And it's also great for your mind and your brain. And here's the other piece that so many people miss. When you accomplish something early in the morning, the psychological benefits of achievement, they start to build momentum. It's kind of like as soon as I started making my bed first thing in the morning, it's like bed is made. What can I do next? And it's almost as you build momentum, psychology, momentum on achievement, and it just puts you in that place is what can I do now? What can I achieve now? And it's just an incredible routine for peak performance and getting in the state and ready to achieve that day.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing like the power of decision, right? And so Sky, the son, in the Observer, keeps a journal. And I thought this was very important, because first, it's kind of mentioned as, kind of get a little bullied about it. And really, journals are important. Can you tell us how this can help keep the track of our goals and at the same time keep forefront to us what's important?
Well, there's power when you write your goals down every day, right? Is you kind of keep sending it out there that's what I want to achieve. That's what I'm chasing. That's what I'm pursuing. And then the other thing is there's so much power in keeping a journal. It's like, even when you're struggling, it's like to write down the struggle in a journal, to kind of like put a pen to paper, right? It's to dump it. It's to get rid of it. It's to release it. Once again, it kind of goes back to our state of emotions and this and that. There's something about like sharing it, and you're sharing it with yourself. But not only that, is when you do share it and when you put a pen to paper and when you journal it, it gives you now a chance to kind of take a look at it and focus on it. And as I focus on it, I can ask my questions. What can I do? What can I do better? What am I supposed to learn here from this setback, this struggle, this disappointment? And then you get to, on another page of a journal, start to write alternative strategies. Man, it's a great way to kind of get centered with yourself, get your mind, get your heart around it, get your thoughts and emotions, and create this awareness and clarity around what we're going through. And it's kind of like, it kind of relates to the book, The Observer, because The Observer is all about awareness. It's about mental awareness. It's about our thoughts. It's about how are we thinking? And are they serving us? Are our thoughts serving us? And if not, as a human being, we have the power to change that thought instantly. And as we change that thought instantly, as we go from a negative state into a positive state, it doesn't happen by a click of fingers, but the thought can literally be the snap of the fingers. But then if we all focus and we'll meditate on the positive thought, what'll happen is emotionally, it starts to gravitate and put us into a different state. And as our emotions start to get into a different state, a positive state, a performance state, we begin to take actions with that state. And that's the beauty of really creating this awareness, becoming the observer of, hey, how do we think? How are we feeling? But then the question is, what can we do about it? What can we change? What are the options that are available for us? So it's such a powerful tool.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, definitely, one of the things that people get away from is journals as they grow older. But really, I think they can actually be probably even more beneficial to us as adults than they can when we were young.
It's the greatest book you'll ever write is those journals.
Yep.
I have 5 children, and I've been journaling now since like 1993. And I just think back, and there's so many times I look back, and it's so fun to be able to look back and how was I thinking then? What was I feeling? What was I thinking? What was I doing? What were my strategies? What great lesson was I capturing at that point in my life? And it's not only a measurement of your growth, but you can go back and kind of catch yourself sometimes. And it's like, aha, man, I forgot about that. It kind of got away from me. And it's the power of journals, because if in fact we rely on our memory, man, we're going to be in big trouble, right? Because,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's one of the beauties about not only taking pen to paper, it just makes that thought and that lesson, it just makes it so much more powerful and impactful.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that happens to a lot of traders is that they don't take a journal of their trades. Just that alone is an edge. So definitely. All right, so let's get into the next one. I want to relate a question to trading. The book The Observer, a lot of the investing side, I think, is more psychological really than learning kind of trading. And so two areas where we can further mastery of the mind is really getting into the zone and winning the inner game. Can you tell us why it's important to go ahead and try to get into that zone and then, of course, keep battling and winning that inner game?
Yeah, getting in the zone is kind of like a state of flow, right? It's where you're so focused on the task at hand, right? And you get yourself in your brain and your brain waves into this situation and in these moments, right? And to where literally conversations can be going off to the left of you, to the right of you, in front of you, behind you, but you hear nothing. I always refer to being in the stadium and being on the mound. and I've pitched in front of 50,000 people, screaming fans. But when I'm in the zone, when I'm focused, when I'm at my best, when peak performance is happening, and it's like when you get in a zone state of flow, it's like it's happening automatically. But what's crazy is you can be in a stadium of 50,000 people and you feel as if you're in a room all by yourself, like it's dead silent. And the opposite of that is when you're standing on a mound or you're getting ready to make a trade, all the noise around you becomes an interruption. And that noise around you, the interruption, all of that noise, it's not their problem, it's your problem, is that we're not focused. We're not 100% focused at the task at hand. You know, I think about trading, I think about pitching a game, I think about trading, I think about the psychology of it. You know, it's kind of like, you know, people will say, hey, you know, you're only as good as your last game. And I'm always like, no, you're only as good as your next one. The last one's over. Whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, it's kind of like trading. You're not as good as your last trade. You're as good as your next one. See, the last trade, the last game, the last pitch, it's over with, right? Whether good, bad, or indifferent doesn't matter. But here's the thing, is like, if it was good, you can't buy your own press because you're going to get caught getting lazy and you're going to not have the laser focus on the detail that you need to have it on, which is what's important right now, right? And then the other thing is what if it was a negative trade? Or what if it was a negative game, right? You got to learn from it, reflect from it, get what you can of it, and then let it go and then move on. Because if you carry the last bad trade into the next trade, you're not going to be all in, man. You're not going to be near as aggressive. You're going to be tentative. And when we're tentative or we're tight, whether you're physically or mentally, you start to make more mistakes and they start to compound and it becomes kind of a snowball effect. So it's really about getting into that place of focus, creating the awareness. You know, one of my mentors said, Todd, he says, as you create more awareness and clarity, he says, what happens, you start to make better choices. And as you make better choices, you start to get better results. That came directly from one of my mentors, Mr. Robin Sharma. He says, Todd, get better awareness, better clarity, make better choices, get better results. And I'm going to tell you, you can take that principle and that model to every aspect of your life, whether you're competing or whether you're not competing. You're just living life.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I always say, you know, and there's actually a book that refers kind of into the zone. It's by Mark Douglas, and it's more on trading itself. And he's one of the mentors that I listen to, and definitely, you know, once you can really focus and stay in that present, that now being, that's when we're at our best. That's when we're at that peak performance, because there's no distraction, and like you said, you only see the catcher's mitt, and the next pitch goes.
Yeah, you know, it's like it's kind of like what's going on, man. And I always say, you know, if our thoughts are on our last trade or our thoughts are on our surroundings and we're not getting laser focused, then I always tell people, I go, we got to turn the channel. You know, you got to turn the channel on those thoughts. You got to turn the channel on those emotions. And at the end of the day, it's like one of the great questions that comes up with is what's important, like right now? Like, what do I need to focus on right now? Like my coaches, my mindset coaches, my pitching coaches, they always used to tell me, Todd, it didn't matter the pitch you just threw. It's like this pitch, this moment, what are you going to do with it? So it's like this trade, right? It's like this trade, this moment, what's important right now? What am I going to do? Am I going to push that button? Am I going to make this trade? And when all of our focus and intention comes to the breath that we just take, that very present moment, and where you where you turn the channel or you put a roadblock up to anything that's happened up until that point of time, this is where you make your greatest moments. This is where you live your mastery. This is where you make your greatest decisions. This is where you're in your peak performance.
Yeah, and you know, one thing I've noticed is you can't stay there, so you definitely have to keep working to get back into that state of mind.
It's a practice. You know, I got a tool, and I talk about it in the book, The Observer, the 180-degree mindset. And I think about it. It's like, okay, so if I step away from myself and I'm like, and I'm observing the thoughts I'm having, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, these thoughts are not positive thoughts. They're negative. They're terrible thoughts. Literally just call time out on myself. And I say, what is the opposite of that of that negative thought or of that terrible thought? What's 180 degrees from there? You're going to land in positive territory. At that point, like if I'm creating this awareness, if I'm observing the way I think, or if I'm observing the way I feel, and I don't like the way I feel, it can be 180-degree mindset can be applied to your emotions and how you feel. And you can say, what's the opposite? And then just begin to focus on that opposite. So it's an incredible tool. You know, it's crazy how so many times throughout the day, I'll just be going through the day and just stop myself. And it's like, man, stop that line of thinking. That's not going to take me where I want to go. And anytime I find or I'm observing or I create this awareness, this clarity around these thoughts, and I don't like where they're going to take me, if I was to focus and act on them, call time out and turn the channel, go 180 degrees from it. Now refocus. And then sometimes it even takes self-talk, right? And the beauty of self-talk is this is the only time that you should listen less. And you should listen less and speak more to yourself, right? It's like God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, except unless you're communicating with yourself. It's like, man, it's like listen less, because the reason I say listen less is because so many of our thoughts are around, you know, survival, right? Fight or flight. You know, you get into stressful situations and it's fight. How do I calm it? Right? It's like you got to stand back and observe, get clarity, have awareness, and then use the tools to get to a place where you can perform at your best.
Definitely. You know, one of the things that I've been working on lately is just trying to, you know, one of the things with the pandemic and being remote working is how to shut off, you know, remote working literally at your home and then going to your home life, your personal family life, and trying to separate those two, and putting one, not the emotion, into the other. And
So
that's a tough
difficult, you
task.
know, and so many people are working from home today, right? And it's kind of like that thing that a couple of things can happen here. You can have home influences that keep you from doing the work you need to do. And then the opposite of that is because your home becomes now your office, it's like you're not getting away from your work and you're not resting, rejuvenating, and getting to a place where, you know, you have to be able to pull back to constantly get, maintain, and stay in peak performance. And definitely they can kind of intersect and you can create problems. So, you know, I have a home office. I'm like most people around the country, especially going through the pandemic, did a lot of work at home. But one of the things you do is, like, when I leave my office, I close the door. And then I always remind myself, wherever my feet are, just be right there. Just be right there. If I'm with my kids and I'm not present with my kids are going to know that I'm not really there. I learned a valuable lesson. I was on a road trip one time for about 10 days. I came home and my beautiful wife and my children had made this unbelievable meal. Dad had been gone for a long time, and now we're going to have our first meal together. And I did a big mistake. I took this cell phone to my dinner table and I set it face down and it started buzzing. I looked at it and it was one of my working partners that was the place I just left to come back home to. And I said to my wife, I said, hey, this will only take a moment. I walked into my office. I took the call 45 minutes later because what happened is I got hung up on the call. I got consumed on the call and I kind of lost all track of time. I go back to the dinner table and everyone's gone. My wife comes and puts a plate in front of me and she goes, it was a lot better when it was warm. And I was like, oh, and I kind of looked at her and I was like, oh no, it tastes great, you know? And all my kids have kind of eaten and moved on to the rooms and that sort of thing. And she says, wow, I wish you wouldn't have come home. And I was like, what? And I was like, wow. I go, honey, aren't you happy I'm home? She goes, yeah, but you didn't come home. You're here physically, but you didn't come home mentally. And here's what she said. How do you think our kids feel right now that call was more important in this moment than having family dinner after you being gone for almost 2 weeks? And I was like, the greatest lesson on being present with where you are and with the people you're with. See, when we're present, we edify the company we're around. When we're present, we're telling those people that they're special, right? And I was like, valuable lesson, wrote it in my journal. And I said to myself, Todd, this will never happen. And it's the constant reminder, and it takes practice. Wherever you are, just be there. I mean, think about how many people are at work thinking about vacation, or on vacation thinking about work. So what happens? In both scenarios, you never get to live your best in that moment because you're focused on somewhere that's not where you reside at the time. It's crazy.
Definitely. So I'm going to move it a little bit forward so we could get towards all the questions. I got so many important ones to get to. So in the book, it mentions 8 forms of wealth, or the circle of life, and I don't want to give them away really, but what area do you feel you need to focus on to get towards a 10 right now? And what does that 10 look like for you, Todd?
So to me, the most important 10, and I have a rating scale on all 8 forms of wealth, right? From 0 to 10. The place for me is, and the message that I'd want to get across is family. Look, you can be the richest guy in the world, but if you have a broken family, you are broke. So to me, the building family wealth and building my foundation around family and those relationships and those understanding and being in the present moment with the family and experiencing new experiences with your family, that's the greatest wealth of all. So for me, it starts and stops with family.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, power to you. I hope you get it faster and faster towards that 10. I know you'll be working towards it. All right. So one of the things here at Benzinga is that we refer to everyone as builders. And how has writing a book and gone through this kind of business process shown you that at the end of the day, people are the difference makers, to getting towards that massive accomplishment that we're looking for?
They truly are the difference makers. Matter of fact, my partner and I, we have a fund we run together, and it's a private fund, and it's where we have about 10, 12 different portfolio companies in there. And if you ask me, and you said, Todd, what's the difference between that company and that company? And you weren't referring to the business plan or the company itself, I would always tell you the people. Matter of fact, when people would say, Todd, what's the difference between the team you had in 1991 with the Toronto Blue Jays that lost in the playoffs and the team you had in 1992 where you won a world championship? I said, it's easy. It's always the people. And matter of fact, one of the things that we do when we look at a business plan, more importantly than what the business is, we look at who are the people that are going to be running the business. Because we know that you can take an average business plan with great people and create great success. We also know you can take a great business plan with the wrong people and end up bankrupt. So I couldn't agree with you more in the program and everything. It's always the people, which is why it's so fun for me today is to serve and inspire and to impact and try to make a difference in people's lives.
Definitely. So one of the things that I notice, and it's mentioned in the book, most people will think of baseball, but most people don't make the playoffs. What does it really take to get towards that level, Todd?
Man, I have to go back to what we were just talking about. Number one, it takes the right people, right? And those people, it's like that come together, that form a team. So whether it's in business and exceeding or excelling to certain levels, playoff type levels, championship type levels, it's being able to collectively have a group of people and get them all to pull the same rope, sharing the same vision, same purpose. And then everyone work really hard individually at being the best they can, not for them, but for the team. And if we'll focus, and in people in business, it's like whatever role you play, even if you're in the mailroom, you can make a difference. Doesn't matter what your role is in the company, whether you're the research analyst or whether you're the trader. See, if everyone is doing the best they can for the team, then you will always be pursuing the best version of yourself at the same time.
Definitely. I couldn't have said it better. And I'm looking forward towards passing it towards the company and the overall company so that we can hear this message also. All right. So the next thing I want to get into is, of course, the observer. And how did that play into when you got into your investing? How do you use the observer really to kind of stay in that edge?
Once again, it's like total awareness, total clarity. It's understanding the state of my mind, the mental state that I'm in, the emotional state I'm in. Look, there are times when the best trade is no trade. It's like if mentally I'm not in the right state and emotionally I'm not in the right state and I'm not feeling it, or I'm tentative, or maybe, you know, my past is interfering with where I am at in this moment, the best trade is not to make one, and is to walk away. And then to go get centered with yourself, and whatever it takes. For some people it's a run, for some people it might be a walk in nature, for others it might be a meditation, for another, you know, it might be getting with your coach, but getting to a place where you can get back to where you can focus in the now, you can have the right mental state, the right emotional state, so that you can have the right focus to move forward. So look, about being an observer is about the ultimate observer is the person with unbelievable clarity and awareness about what's going on inside of them.
Yeah, you know, definitely, you know, at least we don't have it all as hard as, let's say, a 2-minute pitching mound.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing I have here is, you know, Todd, you know, I read your book, and I would love to know what 2 or 3 books you would recommend to expand from your knowledge. You know, that's always one of the best things, is not only, you know, is reading one book, but keep expanding that knowledge and being the ever learner. So what would you recommend for us?
Well, you know, I'm an avid reader, and you know, I try to do 30 minutes to an hour every single day, and it's kind of one of those things. One of the principles in the book, The Observer, is maintaining the student mindset, and it's like, what can I learn today? So I would just tell you the books that I'm reading today and studying today. When I say read, I really study books, and you know, I do a lot of underlining, I make a lot of notes, I do a lot of journaling, and then when I'm done underlining, journaling, then I try to pick one thing. And I try to take that one thing from that book that the author is coaching me on, and I go try to put it in action and kind of see where it falls and see what happens. But the books I'm reading today is Becoming Supernatural, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He really takes the whole mind and emotion to a whole different level. And it's pretty crazy that I wrote the book, The Observer, and then I just kind of came across Dr. Joe's book. And it's really about that study and about how you can, you know, basically recircuit this thing. You can rebuild the way your brain works and operates, and your heart, and this whole thing. So Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and then Change Your World by John Maxwell, one of the greatest leadership coaches ever. So, and I think about Change Your World, and it's like, once again, it's getting to that point of reflection. It's like, what can I do? It's like, you know, one of the questions I love to ask myself at the end of every day is this the best I can do? And people get confused about it. I said, it's not, what I didn't ask is, did I give it my best? Of course I gave it my best, but no, that's not the question. The question is this the best I can do? And the beauty of that question is it always gives me an answer, and that answer provides me information for me to work on tomorrow. And that's the beauty of it.
2% better. We have a quote, you know, from someone in the company that says, if we could just get better, you know, 2% better every single day, then we'll work towards that goal.
There you go. There you go.
So, you know, one of the things that I'm going to be working on is the 7-day challenge now due to the book. So definitely want to thank you for that. And one of the last ways I really would like to leave off is remembering, you know, the legend, the sports psychologist and mentor. I'm sure a great friend to you, Todd, you know, Harvey Dorfman. You know, I learned some new things about him too. You know, I found out that, you know, he was a part of one of my favorite championship teams, the 1997 Florida Marlins, and he was actually in the dugout assisting the players and the pitchers while they were getting ready for the game. And I mean, I don't know if you remember that World Series, but to me, that was one of the best, and it will always be in my heart. So definitely want to give thanks to him, and I'll let you go ahead and leave off with a memory for Harvey, and definitely a shout out for Harvey.
Well, Harvey changed my life and really changed the direction of my life. And, you know, I met with him at a time where I had an internal battle that was going on inside of me. And even though I might've looked great from the outside, on the inside, I was really struggling. And I got a chance to meet with Harvey, where we booked a 2-hour meeting. It ended up going 12 hours long. And in the last hour, Harvey says, "Hey, you want to do me a favor?" And I said, "Yeah, anything, Harvey." And he goes, "Well, what do you think about going on a 7-day challenge?" I said, "I'm in." And he says, "Okay, here's the 7-day challenge." And he said, "Listen, Todd," He says, every time you get stimulated, your mind gets stimulated, or your heart, your emotions become stimulated. And instead of reacting or responding, he says, I don't want you to react or respond. He says, all I want you to do is document. This is when I started journaling. Document your thoughts and document your feelings, your emotions. And he says, if someone cuts you off in traffic, and it's like that knee-jerk response. You're not allowed to respond. You can only document what you thought in that moment, and you can only document how you felt. He said, here's what he said to me. I want you to observe your thoughts, and I want you to observe your emotions. He says, and then in 7 days, we're going to take a look at that documentation of what was going on in your mind, the thoughts you were having, what was going on in your heart, the emotions you were going through. And then what me and you are going to do together is we're going to build a tool chest of models and principles to not only help you get into a peak state, but to help you stay there, where outside influences and things you can't control will make sure you're no longer focused on those things, so that you stay in the moment, so that you can master that. And I was blown away. And I will tell you that I got a chance to work with Harvey for a few years. And, he truly changed the direction of my life. I owe this book, The Observer, to him, because all of the models and principles in this book somehow started with Harvey Dorfman. And, my hope is that people will pick it up so we can pass on his legacy and his mindset and kind of how he viewed things and how he viewed peak performance, because, man, he was a champion and he's helped so many people. And he certainly helped me at a time where I needed help.
Yeah, definitely. Someone that really changed Major League overall. If you look at it now, 22 of the 30 Major League teams have sports psychologists on the staff. So definitely, not only changing his own, what was around him, but he actually changed the whole industry. And hopefully, because of your book, is going to be able to change a whole lot of lives, not just only in baseball, but in a whole lot of different aspects. So thank you very much, Todd, for real.
Mitch, man, it's been a pleasure. And I'm honored, humbled once again to be on your show and hang out with you. And I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, definitely. So, guys, hey, I appreciate you joining us. Todd Stoudemire, 3-time World Series champion pitcher. And if you haven't got it, go ahead and grab it. Check it out, guys. The Observer, a modern fable on mastering your thoughts and emotions. If you really want to be a master of your process and get that level to that peak performance, definitely check it out. And couldn't say more to this book. So I'll see you guys next time on Peak Performance. Appreciate it, Todd.
You're awesome, brother. Thank you.
What up, everybody? Welcome to Around the Bell. Spencer Israel here, episode 2 of this show. If you don't know by now, it's because we've only done 2 episodes. It's the show where you should take everything we say literally and nothing that we say seriously. A casual show, casual end of day show, right? Casual, fun show. Remember, this entire show is meant to be fun. Meant to be entertaining, not in all seriousness, not meant to be for informational purposes or educational advice or any of that. Please don't take anything we say seriously. This is meant to be fun. It's 6 o'clock on the East Coast. We're done for the day. We're done for the quarter. Q1 in the books. We made it. And this is how we're going to celebrate by doing Around the Bell. All right, let me introduce our panelists one at a time. I'm going to start in no particular order with Options Mike. Options Mike, what up, sir?
Spencer, how are you, man?
Doing okay. How was your end of Q1?
Green, which is nice, and goodbye. See you. Don't come back. March. Goodbye. Don't want to see March again for a long time. And God, let's just hope April's just different.
All right. By my watch, we'll see it in 11 months, give or take. All right. Let's go to panelist number 2, Alex Cutler.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. The same question. How was your end of the quarter?
It was fine. Had its highs, and then obviously these last 3 months have been absolutely terrible. I'm with Mike there. Please don't come back, please.
Don't come back. All right. Refined Warrior. Wait, where are you in the stream? Good evening.
Hey guys.
How are we doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Same question, same answer?
Pretty much. If it wasn't for Kodak, I would be a lot greener.
All right. And last but not least, the strongest reader of the bunch, dyslexic Drew. Drew, how are we doing today?
Pretty well. It's been 3-4 hours since we've seen each other, but glad to be here.
All right. Here's how the game is gonna work. I've got a scoreboard, I've got a timer, and I've got the score. I'm the scorekeeper, basically. So we're gonna have different categories, different questions. I'm gonna present a topic or an idea. Gonna give each of our panelists 2 minutes to present their case for their answer to my question. I will award points arbitrarily how I see fit. We will eliminate one person after round 1, eliminate a second person after round 2, and then we will find a winner after round 3. There is the scorecard. 2 minutes are on the clock. Everybody's at 0. Let's start this thing. All right, first question of the day is unfortunately maybe the most boring question of the day. But I don't want you to be limited by giving a politically correct answer. Answer whatever you want. Who will be the big winner of President Biden's infrastructure spending plan? Options, Mike, we'll start with you.
God, this is a tough question. Our kids who are going to be paying the tax bill on this until they die? I'm not really sure.
What
do we got? We got $2 billion coming down the pipe if this gets through, and I strongly suspect this won't go through in its current form. Oh, but not to be outdone, in the next couple of weeks we can announce phase 2. So we may not really actually know who the big winner is, but I'm going to go with infrastructure here, and I'm going to go with building materials. If you really want to think about it, I think names like X, you could look at Cliffs, natural resources. If you look at what he has in here, transportation infrastructure, bridges, highways, airports. You have investing in American manufacturing, research development, putting money into building and retrofitting schools and upgrading them, housing. That's the type of stuff where it doesn't matter where the money goes to what particular company. Names like X and Cliff are going to do great. You're going to have a lot of steel going to that. So I think they could really do fabulously here if they go around. And then obviously the biggest winner is going to be Elon Musk. Oh, wait, no, probably not Elon Musk. Elon Musk, probably not. But I think GM and Ford, with the money going into the EV names and the push towards electronic vehicles, these guys are situated to already rule the world, right? They have all the dealerships. They have all the service centers everywhere. And Biden wants to push American manufacturing and American cars into the EV market and force everybody to start moving that way. Well, Ford and GM already are investing into it. And any money going into that and to push American people to start buying it, love them. Love how that'll play out. Elon, I love you, but your tweets a little bit off here and there. You're a little bit over the top at times, and possibly these guys are going to catch up to you at this point.
Points for sarcasm, real knowledge, and a little bit of existential crisis in there. So 5 points. Nice job, Options, Mike. Let's go to Alex Cutler, Mr. Cutler. Who will be the big winner of this infrastructure spending plan?
So a lot of things that Mike brought up was substantial, and I think that I do agree across the board. I'm going to focus on one specific sector, is the EV and green energy sector. Obviously, electric vehicles are going to be big, just like General Motors and Ford, how they are transitioning and to electrifying their fleet. I'm also going to add on to the new ones that are coming through for SPACs from the likes of Fisker, Lucid, as well as Electric Lion, you name it. Lion Electric. And then charging points. Biggest one is charging points. So ChargePoint, EVgo, all the ones that deal with charging stations are going to take get a big spike and kind of like a little steroid shot into them. So I can't really add on to because Mike really stole a lot of the points that I wanted to go into. But really big that green energy sector is going to be taking a big advantage of this infrastructure.
Green energy, saving the world. Points for saving the world. Alex Cutler. Nice job. Let's go to Refined Warrior next.
Well, I think it's hard to follow the two of them because they pretty much hit the solid points, but I'd have to agree with that. Also agree that X and Cliffs would definitely continue to get stronger. The EV sector will definitely continue to grow. I think we'll see a lot of new jobs being created because of the push in those areas. So I think one of the biggest areas that will benefit from it is job growth, hopefully. So I would say the biggest winner of this spending plan will probably be the new jobs it will hopefully create. So job growth.
Points for keeping her eye on the real prize, which is about jobs. I like it. Where is your point scoreboard? There we go. Let's go to, last but not least, Dyslexic Drew. Mr. Dyslexic, I should say, who is going to be the big winner of this plan. Let's unmute you.
Yeah, so if you guys know me, you know I like some infrastructure plays out there. Trimble, Bentley, Autodesk. I think these companies are really poised to take over, right? They have that software aspect, a little bit of hardware, and they can really leverage their abilities, right? We got $621 billion coming just in for infrastructure. So I think these kind of software companies are going to have huge potential, right? They're going to see so much money coming in. It doesn't matter if it's going towards schools, if it's going towards highways. All these companies are going to kill it, and they've already done so well, right? Their margins are nice and fat. US Steel X, that company was hot, way ago, right? I haven't seen that thing move maybe double digit percents, in a while. Sorry, I'm talking about numbers, getting tripped over them a little bit here and there, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. I know building materials is at an all-time high already, right? You look at wood prices; it's so insane to build a house today. Building new homes is more expensive than ever before. So, those commodities probably will do well, get bidded up a little bit more, but I'm not a fan of buying at the high. I like to buy low. But I think those software plays are going to be nice.
Dyslexic Drew, bringing the knowledge, continuing to prove his mother wrong in the process. Very nice job, Drew. Let's move on to question number 2. Jeff Lowe, a.k.a. the former business partner of Joe Exotic, a.k.a. the really creepy guy. No, there are many. One of the creepy guys from Tiger King, aka the guy you would not want to meet, definitely not want to meet in an alley, is launching a non-fungible token collection despite legal objections from Joe Exotic, who, as I understand it, is still in prison despite his own best efforts. Question for the panel: how do you feel about NFTs? This NFT. Or NFTs in general? Alex Cutler, we'll start with you.
NFTs overall, I think that NFTs are really something special. I think that it'll generate a massive amount of revenue for those companies that have the power to produce it, from the likes of NBA with NBA Top Shot, and now we're seeing the Hall of Fame Village start to be incorporated with it with Dolphin Entertainment. So I think that NFTs are something special. It's like you're having a little piece of your favorite sports, your favorite artist. I think that again, it's something special. It's something for you to hold on and have the rights to if you have the crypto to buy it. So with the Joe Exotic situation and Jeff Lowe, I think that to be able to purchase into this NFT, it's kind of like not worth my time. I don't think that you would want to get involved into the kind of drama that you're going to see with Joe Exotic. Once he does get out of jail, he's going to try to take the rights away from you. But again, it is what it is. Entertainment is entertainment, and I don't know. I think that I probably wouldn't touch this NFT, but any other NFT, I'd definitely be more than happy to purchase, because why wouldn't you want to have a little piece of history?
All right, so bearish on Tiger King, bullish NFTs in general. Refined Warrior, what about you?
I can say about the whole situation with the two of them, I'm not a fan of either of them. I wouldn't touch that NFT. However, as far as the NFT whole situation is concerned, I'm pretty bullish on it, and it can be pretty lucrative. I will say from an environmental standpoint, you can argue that they do play a role in the whole like carbon emissions that they're given off to be used to buy and sell them. But I am very bullish on them, and I see them being like playing a big role in just giving a lot of these artists an ability to I guess generate more income for themselves, and for the customers to retain something that no one else can have a copy of. However, I'll just add this one last thing. I feel like initially, until they figure out a way to prevent the hacking or people creating like copies of something, you might see problems with people like pulling scams and trying to pull a fast one and then making money on that. So, but I am still bullish on it.
All right, points for thinking about the environment. Always appreciate that. Drew, Dyslexic Drew, thoughts on the Joe Exotic NFT or NFTs as a whole?
Yeah, so I'll start off with NFTs as a whole. I'm a huge fan of NFTs. Luckily, one of my friends called me up and said there's this website called NBA Top Shot. I checked it out. The next day, I dropped a lot of cash on an NFT. You know, I was one of the first people, or one of the earlier people. I'm not going to say one of the first, but my account grew, and I was actually in the top 5% for a period of time on NBA Top Shot. So I love NFTs. I got in early, and I love that. But NFTs remind me so much of the 2017 shitcoin phase, right? If you remember that, everyone was doing an ICO. Everyone was saying, oh, I've got an idea for this. I got an idea for that. It doesn't matter. They were just getting money. It's the same thing happening here, right? Joe Exotic is probably one of the biggest fads, right? Don't invest in fads. Trade a fad, but don't invest in a fad, right? So I'm not going to touch it. This thing is going in the swamp. I don't know. Carol Baskin's probably going to, cover up his tracks when it's all done. I'm not a fan of it, but NFTs as a whole, I love it. When are concert tickets going to be NFTs? When is the title of my house going to be an NFT? I don't even have a house. I don't know what I'm talking about. But when is everything, going crypto, going digital? And it's so awesome. I think it's great technology, and this is just the start for the flip of a switch. But don't invest in fads. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Dyslexic Drew, early on. Points for being early on in the NFT game, or as he calls it, the FTN game. Options, Mike, let's go to you. Thoughts on this particular NFT or NFTs in general?
The fact that you're making me talk about the Tiger King on this show is just absolutely mind-boggling to me. You remember what happened to the SPACs when all the celebrities got involved? Yeah, they all suddenly started going down and they didn't even go up anymore. In fact, they're all struggling when they actually bring somebody on board. This is like jumping the shark on TV, right? You want nothing to do with this or anything associated with this man. Even if you've watched the series and you're a fan of it, stay away. I think Drew brought up a great idea, but if you go back and you look back at the blockchain names, remember when Bitcoin first came out and was going nuts, and just when it was about to come publicly traded through the options, right, not through futures? Well, look what happened to names like Riot and Mara and OSTK. By the way, OSTK was one of the few names to successfully implement blockchain and their own coin and actually pull it off and came roaring back. Not that Mara and Riot haven't come back, but there was a lot of pain. Who remembers the Long Island Iced Tea Company? Yeah, I remember they went blockchain at some point and said, we're the blockchain too. Yeah, not so good there. They've been delisted at this point, just to give you guys a little heads up there if you go looking for them after a name change. For me, this sector is a date it, don't own it, right? You date it, you don't marry it. You trade these names on a daily basis. You take maybe a little bit of risk if you like it overnight. But at some point, anything that goes up like this is going to come screaming down as well. Just look at what happened in the past. And that's what's going to happen here. If you love it, it eventually will come around. I think a lot of people here made some great comments. Eventually, this will become mainstream. But usually the initial wave is a euphoria, and you sell it, and then you wait to buy it back on the cheap.
Points to Options Mike for the long blockchain company reference. We like that. We always like that. All right. At the end of, did I get to everyone? I did, right? Yes. Okay. At the end of round 2, here is our score. Round 1, Dyslexic Drew with 8, Options Mike with 8, Refined Warrior with 7, Alex Cutler with 6. And unfortunately, it means Alex Cutler. Why is my clock going? Let's get my clock going. Alex Cutler is the first to go. Alex, do you have any final words for us? Any final thoughts? Any final words of wisdom or anti-wisdom?
Well, I got my butt whooped. Good job, guys. Nice to be the first. But hey, overall, just for everyone that's listening, just every single one of the people that are here is whatever resource for investing education. And we all do one thing and one thing only, is to make sure that when you're investing, like everyone says, don't get married to a stock. Invest and trade analytically. Don't be emotional. Don't just invest into something just because you think that you're going to miss out. More often than not, you're going to FOMO and you're going to lose money. Just invest, pay attention to the catalyst events, the current events, and just always pay attention to chart analysis. Just focus on the facts. Don't get emotional. Listen to your mind, not your heart.
You know what? Can I call an audible?
Yeah.
Let me call an audible here. I'm being told from producer Mitch that I skipped a question.
Tesla.
False start, Spencer Israel. What am I doing? Negative.
I'm alive.
Negative points for me. Negative points for your host. Let's go back to Tesla. All right, Alex, you're still alive, baby. Let's start with you. Tesla is expected to miss Wall Street's estimates for deliveries in the first quarter. So says Luke Ventures' Gene Munster, due to near-term headwinds. Give us your take on Tesla rest of year. Alex Cutler.
Tesla's Tesla. You can't really argue against Tesla and those that are investing into it. Tesla is a superpower overall. I understand that the deliveries, they won't be able to hit it because of multiple situations. Biggest thing is the semiconductor shortage. That's not only affecting themselves, but as well as many other companies. So I think that investors are going to be understanding of the delivery shortage of not being able to hit expectations. But there's many other things that are going to be bringing into this company. Number one thing is the fact that they are officially starting to expand out their solar panel business, and all the other expansions, as well as the Gigafactory, are going to be completed officially in Texas, and many other expansion plans. So I think that Tesla's going to be absolutely fine. More investors are going to be coming into it. Earnings calls, we may see a minor pullback, like the current market that we are seeing. Whenever there's even a good earnings report, there's a drop. But I think that Tesla shares will continue to spike on fundamentals and continue to move, and we may see it hit $1,000 by the end of this year again. So I think that Tesla's really not going to be hit that hard by not hitting these current expectations, because, again, investors will understand because of the semiconductor shortage.
Alex Cutler is looking past the current quarter, as all investors should do. Dyslexic Drew, thoughts on Tesla rest of year?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting year, right? We had all this COVID where people buying cars. I know personally, people that I knew, their lease ended and they didn't want to get a new car. They kind of held back. So it kind of makes sense, right? There's no rush to get a car. And Tesla had some weird things happen, right? They had some facelifts. They dropped the price on some EVs. So I don't know. I think Tesla's at an interesting spot right now. You know, they're about to update the Model S. So I'm not too worried about these deliveries. But we'll see what happens, right? They've got a big shoe to fill with their market cap being so large. One thing I will say is they have a lot of free money kind of coming in from the government with all their fuel credits, right? They're able to sell these to like Fiat Chrysler and Ford and GM that needs these credits. So they have some money coming in, right? I don't think cash is going to be an issue. You know, maybe they could do an offering. That'd be kind of wild. But yeah, I'm not too worried, but they got a big shoe to fill, right?
All right, points to Drew for valuation. Options Mike, thoughts on Tesla rest of year?
Elon, you ever notice like everybody else comes out pretty quickly with their delivery numbers, and Elon, you just never know because he waits until he has his numbers, right? He may go to the final day of the month before he releases them if he has to. I'm not really sure why Tesla hasn't come out and said the chip shortage is affecting us. Every other major manufacturer has said it. Why not just come out and get ahead of it and just discuss it, be out there with it? Drew made a great point about the tax credits. There's one problem with these credits they're selling. That's their entire profit. If you look at their profitability, it's all coming from selling these tax credits. When are they going to actually start making good money on what they primarily do, which is they sell electric vehicles? And that's my one big concern. And my other big concern is as everybody else starts catching up, and there's more competition out there, Tesla's going to start facing more of this and have to deal with this. And they're not going to be the lone guy out there. And we've talked about already Ford and GM. There's bigger guys out there to go after them. If they get into the solar space, and we've been waiting for this forever, ever since Musk bought his other company, Solar City, maybe that goes. And I'm going to say this: I like Elon. I think he's brilliant, but maybe it's time for him to just become CEO of one company. Right now, he's CEO of Tesla. He's CEO of SpaceX. He has the Boring Company. Maybe it's time for him to just kind of go into one area. Oh, and maybe stop tweeting. We don't need any more SEC investigations. Oh no, we already have another one going because of Dogecoin. So. I like them. I think they stay flat for the rest of the year. You may get another pounce up or down, but I think competition starts to catch up. They've had a huge run, and valuation here is a problem.
All right, options, Mike. Calling out Elon, calling out the man himself. Last but not least, Refined Warrior. Thoughts on Tesla rest of year?
I'm going to have to agree with a lot of what was said. However, what I've come to see is never bet against Elon. I'm long Tesla. It's one of my forever stocks. And I feel like Elon is a brilliant person. He knows what he's doing. There's a reason why Tesla isn't with the automotive stocks. It's the tech stock. And, they've missed certain expectations before. We'll see a pullback, but we've seen pullbacks before. They recover. I think long term, you'll see it hit at least the 1,000 by December, if not more. And I'm not too concerned with, especially with the credit situation, Bitcoin and Tesla. I definitely am still bullish on Tesla, regardless of any pullbacks we'll see. And adding to what Alex said about the factory completion in Texas, I think we'll just continue to see Tesla grow and get stronger despite any of the hiccups along the way.
Refined Warrior took what Alex Cutler said and went a step further. He said 1,000, she said 1,000, if not more. Points for the bullishness.
Oh, come on.
Points for the bullishness. 1,000, if not more. That would be $300. I guess that's not too drastic a call in Tesla, knowing how this thing moves. But now it is the end of the round. Spencer, you buffoon. And unfortunately, Alex Cutler is for the second time tonight.
Why don't you just backhand me?
Right. It was a pleasure having you on, sir.
Thank you so much.
Oh man! All right, hey, we're rolling with it. We're rolling with it. All right. Segment number 2: buy or why is my clock running? Buy or sell. Let's talk about some buy or sells. I'm going to present some ideas. You're going to tell me if you buy or sell that idea. You like it, you don't like it. You agree, you disagree. Let's start with Miss Kathy Wood and ARKX, the space ETF from Kathy Wood. Would you buy or sell ARKX, Kathy Wood in space? Refined Warrior, start with you.
I'm pretty bullish on it. I think she's got some good picks in it. I will say some of them leave me a little bit wondering, but I think that, and I believe Ryan mentioned something earlier in the show that he had about how he thinks some of them are just filling up that space, but they'll eventually be replaced, like Netflix being one that left me going, excuse me, why that one? But I am bullish on it. I'm looking for a nice dip to get in it. But yeah, bullish.
All right, bullish, Kathy Wood and her actively managed space fund. What about you, Dyslexic Drew?
Yeah. So as a ETF, I like all the holdings, right? The top holding, or one of the top holdings, I believe, was Trimble, right? That's a stock that I think is going to do phenomenally well, especially with, we just talked about the new bill coming from our boy Joe Biden. So I think there's a lot of great holdings. As a space ETF, the holdings don't really make sense, right? We got Netflix, we got Nintendo. There's a lot of random stocks in there, but I think overall, it's going to do well. I think investing in space right now is a little bit too early, right? There's only one company that I'd ever buy right now in the space industry, and unfortunately, it's private, and that's SpaceX, right? So maybe if that SPACs to Bill Ackman SPAC, I'll buy that. But, Virgin Galactic, it's too wild, right? People doing space travel, I don't know, that seems a little bit far-fetched for me. But I think all the names in it sound really well, right? But as a space ETF, that's not really how it looks right now. I think it's way too early to start trying to invest in space in the publicly traded markets. But that's my personal take.
So all the names make sense, but it does not look like a space ETF. Not sure I'm buying that, Dr. Drew. What about you options, Mike? What do you think? Buy or sell ARKX?
I'm selling the hell out of it. I think Kathy just came back from the grave yesterday when Tesla went below 600 and got into this gap down around 560. And she's like, oh my God, here we go. We're coming back. Thank God. She was hot last year, right? She was incredible during the pandemic, but she's really cooled off and she keeps buying the same names and she likes to put the same names in every ETF. What is Deere doing in here? Are we going to terraform the moon and the rest of the world? We're going to go out in space and start terraforming everything? I just don't see the need for a space ETF right now. I think this is just way too early, as was mentioned. A lot of the names in here don't make a lot of sense to me. And sometimes you just do something for no reason whatsoever. There's some great names in here if you want to play them. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, great names you can play. Space, Virgin Atlantic, it's pre-revenue, right? But if you like to take a chance on something, you can take a small flyer on something like that. It's just, hey, maybe this one will take off if they ever get their plane up in the air and actually starts working. But for me, I think Kathy's just stepping too far here. You got JD and Baba. What are you investing in, Chinese space flight now? I just don't like it. I'm selling this thing. I'm actually selling Kathy at this point. I love her. I think she's done great, but she needs to change her tactics.
Wow. Pulling no punches options, Mike. Bearish, not just Kathy Wood, but bearish all of outer space. Which I didn't think that was a thing, but I guess it is. All right, at the end of Q1, in round 2, you can see our scores there. Options Mike, Refined Warrior with 12, Dyslexic Drew with 11. Question number 2. We just finished the end of the first quarter, as I mentioned at the top of the show. My question for you all, and we'll start with you options Mike. Q2, better or worse for the S&P 500 than Q1?
I don't care if it's better or worse, as long as the action is better. I don't care if we go up or go down. Well, let's just pick a direction and go there instead of going sideways forever. My gut instinct says we're going to get some type of dip, but it's going to be better. We're going to have a strong close going into the end of June as we go into summer. Q1 was just so tough, right? We had just a lot of sideways action, a lot of chop, but this market has been beyond resilient. So when you look at this market, it's had every reason to sell over the last couple of months. And what does it do? It just keeps coming back up. S&P, SPX, the cash index closed at an all-time high today. So, maybe you get some rotation. Maybe bonds finally start buying it back. I love bonds. The same people complaining about inflation's going up and interest rates are going up, they're the same people that are dumping bonds. Guess what, guys? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you sell bonds, the more the rates go up. So I think Q2 is definitely better, especially if we rotate back into tech and we see some big names like Apple and NVIDIA, some of these semis start participating. I think we get a nice roar, and we are entering into the big time of year. It's earnings season. We got about 10 days until we start earnings season.
Options Mike gets points for semantics. Better is subjective. Could mean lots of things. Could mean better performance or just better action. Refined Warrior, Q2, better or worse for the S&P 500 than the quarter we just finished?
I think it'll be better. We might I won't say we might. I definitely think we'll see some dips along the way, but I think that it'll definitely be better. I will say maybe like a 40 to 50% growth, and maybe Q1 20, 25%, but that's where I'm putting it. But definitely better, despite any pullbacks.
Better. I don't know if I call it those numbers. You gave a couple of them. But the bottom line there is better.
I think better. I think we'll see a growth of about 50%, 40 to 50% in Q2.
Wait, you think the S&P is going to rise 50%? Is that what you said?
An estimated, like a rounded growth.
Okay, I got you now. All right.
It made sense in my head. I'm just saying it's gonna be better, especially I think that we're gonna see tech come back and get stronger again.
Yeah, better is the bottom line. Dr. Drew, Dyslexic Drew, better or worse? S&P Q2 versus Q1.
Yeah, I think it's going to be better. I mean, you think about Q1, there was one word, I guess two, maybe. I don't know, I'm not good at counting. The 10-year, right? The 10-year spooked everyone. They're like, oh my God, we got to redo these discounted cash flows, all these high growth companies. It doesn't make sense anymore, right? Everyone started selling, everyone panicked, so it didn't really make sense for a quick minute. But now everything's like, all right, like maybe we'll start buying again, right? A few of my favorite stocks saw almost double-digit returns today, right? So I think people, they forget things. They're going to forget about these interest rates. They're going to forget about yields. They're going to forget about inflation unless we really see some wild stuff happen, which, we haven't really seen too much stuff. So I think it's going to be a lot better. I think there's $1 trillion on the sideline still. There's a lot more money to come into the market, and people, they want to buy. As we saw, people want to buy, and with Q1 earnings coming out, I think they're going to actually be very strong.
Dyslexic Drew thinks we all have as poor memories as him. I'm about that. All right. Let's move on to question number 3, the final question in round 2. Saw a report today. Robinhood is apparently going to stop with the confetti when you buy a stock on their app. No more raining confetti when you buy a stock on Robinhood. Agree or disagree? Buy or sell? Drew, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I think any publicity is good publicity. So, if this just puts them in the headlines one more time, gets them a few more, 18-year-old traders to sign up, then good for them, right? This is not a big deal, right? The GME stuff is over. That was wild, but, there were a few other, brokerages with them. But Robinhood, they're going to see better days, right? They're going to go public soon. They're going to do well. This whole confetti thing, who cares, right? I opened my first brokerage account on Robinhood when I was 15 years old. I remember. I used my mom's social security number. That's a whole different story. But, Robinhood, it's a great first investing, platform for young adults, right? That's the technical name. But yeah, I think Robinhood, I'm actually a fan of it. I think a lot of people shit on them. They say, oh, they're selling your execution. They're selling your orders to different execution firms. Like, who cares if you're going to be buying a stock for 10 years? If you're trying to trade, don't get me wrong. Do not invest or trade through Robinhood. But if you're just trying to buy a stock for the first time, it's easy. It looks nice. Confetti, keep it. Get rid of it. I really don't care. It's not a big deal.
All right, Drew gets the bonus points for identity fraud. Options, Mike. Let's go back to you. You care about confetti in Robinhood? Yes or no? You like this idea or decision, or do you not?
They have confetti, but maybe they should have strippers for either male or female coming out of a birthday cake. That might get a little bit more excitement into them. I don't know. I mean, I've never gone and buy or sold a stock because there's confetti or something special going on. I think, they stopped trading because of it. Okay. They want to seem real, and I think that's the most important thing. You cannot sit there and stay like you are. You have to change your image, and this is just taking that step to changing your image. I'm selling it because I don't think it's important, but it does change their image.
All right, I like that. Everything you said makes sense. I'm about that. Refined Warrior, buy or sell? You care or not? Robinhood getting rid of confetti in their app.
I'm not a fan of Robinhood. I wouldn't use it. I could care less if they had the confetti or not, but I don't see a point in having the confetti. I think they need to change a lot to bring more users. So if making a change will bring more users, then great. As I said, I'm not a fan of Robinhood.
Gotta say, I did not expect this amount of vitriol on Robinhood. So what I thought was a rather fun question, but you all seem unenthused by my confetti question, which is fine. Okay, that's the end of the second round. There's our scoreboard up on the screen. You can see Dyslexic Drew and Options Mike with 17. Unfortunately, Refined Warrior coming up short, $16. to her name. Hopefully, she has more in her trading account.
I do.
I would certainly hope. Any final thoughts for us?
No, thanks for having this. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
We enjoyed having you on as well. We'll have to get you back whenever the next time we do this show is, which who can really say? All right. Dyslexic Drew and Options Mike. 2 questions, 1 champion. Let's do this. First question. Better bet for the rest of the year. NFTs or SPACs? Options Mike.
2 men enter, 1 man leave. I'm going with SPACs, but specific SPACs. And I'm going to say this for a reason. NFTs, I think they're going to go up, and I think they're going to have a big come down again, and then you'll be able to buy them back a lot cheaper before the end of the year. SPACs, I think they had their run, but now you have to be very just picky about it. I think Drew brought up that Robinhood's going to IPO. There's a good chance they might actually try to go through a SPAC, and that could be a real winner if they do that. So you want to be picky here. You want to watch it. You could also watch names like CCIV. As they are getting closer to going into production, like a lot of the other EV names are still a year and a half away. FSR, for example, is still 18 months minimum away from producing their first car. These names, which have already come out, which are SPACs, they may fly. So I would go with SPACs. I'd be name specific. I'd do my research on them, but names like CCIV, Robinhood, if they go that way, these are the things you want to begin. Oh, WeWork? No, it's not. I want nothing to do with WeWork. 37% of the office space in New York City is available. What's WeWork going to do? Give this out away for free? So I'm going to go SPACs here.
All right.
Mike.
I guess I'll take over. I think, there definitely are some good SPACs out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of PSTH right now. I think it's pretty reasonably priced. But I think NFTs still have a great room to run up, right? Look at the SPAC man himself, Chamath, right? He sold a lot of his positions, right? Is he going on to do other ventures? Sure. But, he was the SPAC man. If he's getting out, maybe I should too. I don't know. NFTs are just getting started, right? NBA Top Shot just raised $300-something million at a $2.3 billion valuation. This is just the start, right? We're seeing a lot of publicly traded companies try and get in with the hype. Who cares about that? There's a lot of big things coming, and I think that this technology is going to be flipped on its head. There's going to be a huge transformation, right? And it's really just the start in my eyes. So NFTs, let's see this run. Let's see this run.
All right, 3 points for option. Oh, my camera's off. 3 points for Options Mike for that, and we'll give Drew 2 points because YOLO. That's why. All right. Here's a headline I saw that caught my attention today. Miley Cyrus is teaming up with Cash App. They're going to give away $1 million in free stocks. I want you both to give your pitch for your favorite stock that Miley Cyrus and or Cash App should give you for free. Your favorite stock. Give me your pitch. Drew, start with you.
Yeah, I got to say Palantir, right? Peter Thiel. He's my guy. I love that man. It's just no competition, right? They are in an industry of their own. They're selling data to the government. I almost said government to the data. That would have been a true dyslexic move. But they're selling data to the government. They're selling data to corporations. They are in a field of their own. And yeah, are they a little bit highly priced right now? Sure, but I'm investing in them for the long term. I'm trying to get in with the dip that just happened, and I think this thing is going to literally 10x in the next 5 years, right? They have so much potential. I think it's a great kind of meme stock too, right? It has so much hype around it. So I think it would be great for Miley Cyrus and Cash App as well.
All right. I'm told that Miley Cyrus is watching this show and she's listening to your pitches, and so give her your pitch. Options, Mike. Your favorite stock and why?
I could go like really wild here, like LAC or Vail, some lithium plays, which I think will be great. But if you're just getting started, you want a free stock, you got to go with something safe. So I'm going to say Apple. And, I know Apple sounds boring, but Apple is now about $25 off its high. It's just sitting above the 200-day moving average. Nothing's changed with this company. This company's still as good as it was. It's not even better when it was at 145. They're cash rich. They're hitting it on all cylinders. Why did they get hit last quarter? They didn't guide. Well, guess what? Half the S&P 500 has an ish guidance in the last year, so why should they get hit any harder than anybody else? They're a great stock. They have a huge dividend. They're constantly doing buybacks. you want a safe stock as your first purchase. So if Miley's going to give me a free stock, give me something that I can hold on to, can sit in, and this stock is probably going a lot higher. They like to do reverse splits. They do this for a reason. They want their investors, their people who use their products to be able to buy it, unlike Google or Amazon, who, those stocks are just ridiculous. You can't own them anymore. You have to just use options on them. So for me, give me some Apple. Hey, you can give me a free phone too, Miley. I'd really appreciate that.
All right, props, points for safety and points for the free phone, the double ask, the old double ask trick, options, Mike, points there. And I'm going to do a bonus question. I'm going to do a bonus question right now, and I'm going to do the inverse, okay? You just pitched a stock that you both love. Tell us about a stock that you really hate. I'm calling it audible right now. Tell us about a stock that you really hate for whatever reason and why. Drew, we'll start with you.
Ooh, that is a hard one. I don't know what I'm going to say here. Honestly, kind of not expecting this. I'll say US Steel because it was brought up. I think that's a company. Steel was huge and still has a lot of room to go, maybe. But, it's at an all-time high. Construction prices are an all-time high. What's going on with them? I don't really know. But I think if you're going to invest in commodities, invest in wood, invest in renewables, steel is something old. Carnegie, he was a robber baron back in his day. We're seeing stuff go wild. All these new things come out. I'm not a big fan of U.S. Steel.
All right, I called the audible. Good props. Points for being quick on your feet. Dyslexic Drew. Nice job. Options, Mike. Give us a stock that you really, really hate.
Yeah, I'm going to go weird place here. I'm going to go with CCL, Carnival Cruises. Everybody loves these names. Everybody's like, oh, cruise ships are coming back. It's a reopening play. Got to get on the cruise ships. Not only do these guys get no stimulus money or no bailout money because they're not American companies, they have issued millions and millions of shares of stock to stay afloat, completely devaluing their actual net worth from where they were. So everybody's like, these names should roar back to the highs where they were pre-COVID. Their valuation's not the same. They don't have the same amount of stock. They have like 5 times more the amount of stock they had now. I don't have the number, I'm making it up, but they've been issuing stock left and right and center to stay afloat. But I can't figure out who the hell's buying it, right? If you issue stock to me, I wouldn't be buying it. And yes, they're going to get back in the water. Hopefully, probably within the next couple of months, we'll see cruises starting again. But you don't think you're going to see everybody flooding back. I don't think you're ever going to see, like within the next year or two, the same amount of cruises going on, the same amount of people full boats. So I think you sell the cruise ships, you stay away from them for now. And if somebody wanted to give me that stock, I would take it and sell it the next day for whatever I can get for it.
Carnival Cruise, of course, the owners of Diamond Princess Cruises, which is where this whole thing kind of started. So thanks a lot, Diamond Princess. Points to options, Mike, for not just hating the cruise lines, but like we all know, let's be honest, the cruise lines for like dumb spring breakers, right? Let's just be real about where
go to Florida,
where they stand in the pecking order. And on that note, that's gonna wrap it up for Around the Bell. It was a close one, but options, Mike, eked it out by a buck or a point, whatever you want to call it. Options, Mike, I'm going to give you the floor. Congratulations. You are our champion today. You have the floor to say whatever you want.
Thanks, guys. Love being on the show. Tremendous amount of fun. To my fellow competitors here, great cast, great bunch of people, great ideas. So I say this to you guys. A lot of people complaining, and Q1 was really, really tough, right? I want you all to go home tonight. I want you to think about this. Tomorrow is the start of a new day. It's a new week, new month, and a new quarter. Forget what happened this quarter. Put it beside you. Put it behind you. Move forward. Don't compare what you did to last quarter. Just move forward, no matter how bad or how good it was. Start over again, start fresh, get focused, and look for the setups, as this market is going to find its footing one way or the other and give better trades and better trade ideas. So however you're doing right now, I hope you're all well, you're staying healthy, stay COVID-free, and catch you next time on the show.
All right, options, Mike, saying to go home and think about your life, everyone. Think about your life, think about your trading, think about your quarter, and
or drink heavily.
Now, let me just, before we go, I'm just going to bring everyone back. I'm going to bring back Drew. I'm going to bring back Alex. I'm going to bring back Refined Warrior. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. We did ask the chat if anyone had any questions. We got one question, and of course it was about GameStop. I'm going to open the floor.
No.
If you want to punt, you can punt. But if you have any thoughts on GameStop, The floor is yours. Whoever wants to start, if anybody.
Needs
It's
to
not
die.
worth this. It's not worth where it is right now. Don't own it. Trade it.
Needs to die.
Needs to die. Refined word. Do you have thoughts, or you know?
Don't FOMO it. Just let it go.
Let it go. Don't FOMO it. Let it go. Drew?
I'll say I really like Ryan Cohen. When it was at $20, I was a huge fan. But
Oh my God.
But listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at this price. I'm not touching it. I'm not trying to trade it. Options are way too expensive. There's no need to trade it. Look for the next thing. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. I really like what options Mike said. Put everything behind you. Look forward.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our panelists, all of our viewers. Please remember, once again, I said this at the top, I'm going to say it again. All the information from this show meant to be used for entertainment purposes, not for investing or educational advice. Thanks to Dyslexic Drew, Options Mike, Refined Warrior, and Alex Cutler for spending about an hour with us tonight. We appreciate you. Smash that like button, please, everyone. That's how you tell YouTube that you like us. And we will have to get you guys back here on the show again soon. But thanks a lot for the time today.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
and make the markets accessible to everyone.
Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the show. All right, guys, welcome to the First Trade Show. It's Michael and Rohan here, the host of the show.
And it is Friday.
It is Friday. We're recording on a Friday. This is going to be heard on Wednesday, but we are recording on a Friday night. It is 6:29 in the D.
And my social security.
How are you doing?
You know what, Michael? I am doing just peaches over here. Freaking fantastic. Excited to be here for First Trade Friday. It's actually Wednesday for you guys, but you know, we record on Fridays. That's what we do up in the D.
That's why I'm so happy right now. I feel like just peaches is the exact same thing you said last week.
Peaches? No, I want to start saying that. I saw it in a movie because someone called this guy and they were like, "How you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm Peaches, baby." And like I was just like, "Oh, that was cool as hell.
That was smooth." Yeah.
And I was like, I want to start saying that. So I'm trying to make an effort to do it. But
well, you're doing it.
I do friggin' fantastic a lot. But you know what? I'm Peaches.
Peaches is fucking awesome. Yeah.
So what to do? First Trade. First Trade, folks. If you don't know, First Trade is a show all about taking you from your first trade up to, you know, getting to the point where you're an experienced trader and taking you along that journey. Me, myself, I am not so much an experienced trader. We are 4 episodes in, so I'm learning at a pretty decent rate, I'd say. But, you know, I'm no expert by any means. And Michael over here, well, he isn't either, but
I am a trader.
He is a trader,
kind.
And
yeah.
he knows what he's doing. Maybe just a smidge more than I do.
A little more.
And that's, you know, that's the point of the show. Is just like give that little back and forth. Have you guys give your input. You know, you ask the questions. We do our best to respond. And if not, we bring on guests who do know what they're doing, like we're gonna have on today, and like we've had on previous episodes. So you know what? You ask and you shall receive. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, but you know, I think it worked. I mean, look, we've had a ton of great guests. I've learned a ton in this. I think that's what we covered just now. I've even learned, and I thought I was good at trading. But after we brought on Hugh Henney last week, I realized I'm not good at trading. I'm actually shit. So that was a good learning experience.
I feel like you're fine. It's just not everyone's gonna be
Hugh Henney.
No one,
Yeah.
you know, not everyone's gonna be the penny stock provider out here.
True.
You know what? It was a fun episode. I had a lot of fun,
It was.
and maybe too much fun. We did have some bloopers. I know we throw them on the end there, but in case you didn't see it, Franny, hit him with some bloopers. Every Friday, cooking it down. Except it's Wednesday for you guys. We just record on Fridays.
Record on Fridays.
That's the secret sauce.
That way we're in a good mood heading into the weekend before we record, and we're like happy and jolly. At least I am.
Do I look unhappy to you?
No. You have a Benzinga t-shirt on. You're really repping the brand. You look happy. It's good. I'm going ice fishing tomorrow, and I have the double benefit of maybe falling through the ice and drowning. So it's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I just looked up a stonk. It says bombard with concentrated artillery fire, as in the
That's
woods
not-
were routinely stonked by German.
Folks, that was loud.
Yeah.
Mamma mia. All right, that was
Boom, done. Sweet.
that was kind of embarrassing, but you know what?
Good enough. Works
We're
for me.
here to entertain.
Yeah, I feel like that's what our main goal is. He covered everything. We had an unbelievable segment. Got a ton of info. Got a great guest today.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
we got
someone who knows their charts. So that's what we're going over today. If you wanted to know, we're going to go a little bit more into charting. We got some questions on Twitter, and we're excited to do that. So today, like we mentioned, is going to be all about charting, and we have a very special guest coming on. And without further ado, I think we should just hop right into it. You've heard enough of our bullshit, so let's just get started. We have John London, beginner trading, killer YouTube channel. He's streaming all day, making them scalping trades.
Making them scalping
which I need to
trades.
ask him about, honestly, because I want to learn more about that. And I have a general idea, but I'm just really excited to get him on and get his perspective. He's out there educating every day pretty much. And, hopefully you guys can learn quite a bit from him. And he seems like a solid guy, so I'm excited to have him on.
Plus, he has a cool name, John London. I love that name. That's a solid
I feel like
name.
you could just be so cool with that name.
That's
you know?
a cool
like,
name. Yeah.
Michael Murray, not a bad name. But
But it's so basic.
John London.
John London, strong, superb. Let's bring him on.
Hello,
see
I'm
if he's
John
cool as
London.
thing. Yeah, like that. Exactly. Smooth.
all right,
Let's bring him on. Let's do this.
Let's stop BSing. Let's bring him on.
What's up, guys? It's good to be here. Honestly, just to touch on this real quick, I got made fun of for my name so much growing up.
Really?
Up. It was like, I was short as a kid. I eventually hit a growth spurt, but they would sing "London Bridge is falling down."
Oh,
to
no.
me. It was terrible. It was terrible growing up. My wife likes it, but she didn't live with it. So, but good to be here.
I guess I can see the other side of that, but I was like, man, that's a cool name. Like, that's like
love
a
it,
James Bond level name right there.
Right,
Yeah,
hey.
it is.
I
Strong.
don't mind it now, but when I was a kid, kids are mean. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, man.
Thank you for coming here. Excited to have you. How's your day going? How's your trading day going? I know the market's been kind of crazy, but I know we were talking a little bit before, and you said you're unaffected. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the market crashed yesterday too. Everything kind of crashed yesterday. Bitcoin did. I know cryptos did. Penny stocks did. Mid and high caps, blue chip stocks did. So yesterday I was just hearing about it. Today I did okay. I didn't have a losing trade today, but yesterday I think I broke even or slightly lost yesterday, but it wasn't too bad. I had like one redeeming trade. But I mostly trade cheap stocks, low float stocks, under $10. And those are for the most part independent of like blue chip stocks and like mid and high cap, like larger stocks. So I was saved a little bit from that. But yeah, yesterday was certainly a bloodbath as well, from what I understand. And I think we did rebound a little bit today, but yeah, I got out alive, I guess.
Okay. And did you want? I just take that opportunity, and you started to bring it up, and I figured, what a better time than ever to just introduce yourself. Give us a little bit about you, just a brief summary. Maybe just how you got into trading. We're gonna ask a little bit more about how you got into trading in a second here, but just love to get to know a little bit about you.
Yeah, no worries. So I run a channel called Beginner Trading on YouTube. I don't really claim to be an expert. I didn't really want to go that route. So I'm not selling a course or anything like that. I just try to keep it a resource and community. And so we're just a free resource and community. We trade live every weekday morning with no pressure and anything like that. And like I said, I don't even claim to be an expert. I've been trading for about 4 years now, though. So I do have some experience, and I know the common pitfalls of trading and traders. But yeah, I just run kind of a resource and community on YouTube, and been trading the market every day for years. Love the market, super into stocks, and I think you kind of have to be if you want to be successful. But yeah, we trade live over there on YouTube in the YouTube streets, and definitely love doing it. It's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping we get a good market this year. Hoping that everything rebounds, but time will tell. And yeah, that's basically what I do. I mostly trade penny stocks, cheap stocks under $10. But I trade a little bit of everything with mid and high caps, crypto, options, broad brush type of trader, I guess.
There we go. That's still crazy to me, the fact that you're in there every day. And I was looking at your streams and I'm just like, man, this guy goes like just to be sitting and making those trades for hours on end. Like, and I'm sure you gotten a taste for it and you're a little more used to it now. But for me, I don't think I have the brain capacity for that, to be honest. Before we get too deep, there's one question we always like to start out with here. The show is, after all, called First Trade. And so I would love to hear a little bit more about your first trade. Walk us through it. Why did you choose it? If you remember the specific stock, how did it go? And I guess along with that, were you always a day trader, or when did you first get into that?
Okay, so it's a funny question. I think every trader kind of looks back to their first trade and smiles a little bit. My first trade was a day trade on SureTrader. Now, I don't know how long y'all have been around the market, but SureTrader was an offshore brokerage it's no longer around anymore. And I used to trade penny stocks on SureTrader about 4 years ago. With that, I think I know I lost about $300 on my first trade. I think I traded, it was a recent IPO. I can't remember what the actual ticker was, but yeah, I certainly lost a decent chunk of change on my first trade, but I'm pretty sure it was an IPO. It's hard to remember, but yeah, it was 3 or 4 years ago on an offshore brokerage account that isn't around anymore, and I certainly lost a ton of money on it, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that was my first trade. I haven't always been a day trader. I do a little bit of everything, so I swing trade and all that stuff. If I could go back in time, I don't know if I would pick day trading for my first trading style. I think I would probably start to invest a little bit first initially, just because I think that's a safer route for beginners. But I stuck with day trading, and yeah, it's certainly the riskier form of trading, but it's something I love doing. It's something I do every day. And but yeah, that was my first trade, was probably a $300 loss on a recent IPO, a volatile IPO. I can't remember what the symbol was, though, to be honest.
Well, he lost less on his first trade than I lost on mine. I think I was down like 1,500 on my first trade.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it was ugly.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a rough start.
Do we want to know? I'm down. Well, I only put $100 in my first trade, and my entire account's down about 35% right now. So like,
yeah. It happens. It happens.
yeah, I mean, I'm not, on that specific trade, I'm losing like maybe $30-40. So
I went balls to the wall. I was like $4,000 into my first trade. Yeah, I went down like 1,500. I recouped it. I was up like 1,000 after like a couple months behind. It started off nasty, man.
That's pretty crazy.
Rough.
Like, like the fact that you just decided to go off the deep end. You're like, all right, I'm gonna start this morning, throw some money in, and like we'll make it happen.
IPO, volatile IPO, and I remember the mindset too, because when you first get started in day trading, a lot of time you have just unrealistic expectations towards it. With any type of trading, really, I guess, just really unrealistic expectations, and I think that's what it was. I just kind of pushed it and lost some money. And in the end, like looking back, I think having trades like that, especially for your first trade, is almost necessary, because when you lose a bunch of money really, really quickly, it kind of reinforces risk management. You don't want to do that again. It burns a little bit, if you will, and you try to avoid that in the future. And so in some ways, your losses at the beginning are kind of necessary. They'll reinforce and kind of condition you to not do it again, and certainly not take that much risk again if it is a big loss. So
yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that last week. We had Hugh Henney from Pennies Going in Raw on, and he, we briefly discussed what he coined. I don't know if this is his term, but what he referred to it as market tuition, where it's basically, eventually as a new trader, you're gonna have to lose a lot of money to learn how to make money, basically. And if you don't, then great. But it was a good point where it kind of made me more comfortable with the idea too, for sure.
Yeah, losing is key in the beginning. I think I don't think it's one of the reasons you should scale down your size in the beginning, because a lot of traders just take huge sizing and they just kind of push it too much. But you're gonna lose, and losing is good, in the beginning. Not to go back to Gordon Gekko, greed is good. Losing is kind of good in the beginning because it'll reinforce what you got to do, which is not take a bunch of risks. You can lose money quickly, and when you lose in the beginning, it's kind of a shock to your system, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You got to really change the way you trade and understand risk management, and kind of condition yourself not to do it anymore.
Yeah,
100%.
it's huge. You want to talk some charts, John? We know that's what you're known for, is the technical chart reading and stuff like that. This is the first trade show, so we're not getting super in depth with the charts and how to read them and how to use that for stock trades. But we wanted to get some of your intel and just some information on you, on how you do it. Maybe talk a little bit of basic chart knowledge and go over some stuff like that. Can you tell us a little bit about just chart reading in general? What do you look for? Give us like the 30,000 foot view of how you read charts and how it factors into your decisions with stocks.
Sure. So, okay. So I look at charts on a technical basis. I look at fundamental catalysts. So I look at basically historical levels. You know, as when I say technicals, I'm looking for historical levels and confirmations on a chart. And whether I'm looking at the daily chart, if I'm trying to get into a longer term trade, or if I'm looking for major confirmed levels, then I'll look at a longer term chart, I guess I should say, since this is for beginners. With that, you know, you want to look at confirmation, which just means historically respected levels. So I'm looking for historically respected levels that I can play off of. If a stock falls down to the same level each time, for instance, that means it's been confirmed. And with that, if a level's been confirmed multiple times at a specific spot, and then it finally breaks out of that level, then it's logical to assume that we might get an influx of buys or sells at that specific level. And that's what I'm ultimately playing off of with a small time frame and a larger time frame, depending on the style of trading I'm getting into. But I trade a lot of range breaks, pullbacks. So I look for a specific range to break and then maybe buy the pullback to test the previous high or previous low within that range, if that makes sense. You know, I'm also trading a lot of like half and whole dollars, because half and whole dollars in charting and technical trading, you know, looking at historical levels, half and whole dollars are big psychological levels that a lot of other traders, regardless of their experience level, are really watching and looking at, as well as quarter dollars sometimes. And so if I can identify a range in between those specific levels and play off of that, that's my preference with trading. Mostly, you know, I think a lot of new traders get stuck with like buying high of the day breakouts and buying low of the day breakouts if they're shorting. But I tend to prefer to buy pullbacks instead, just because there's less extension, there's less profit taking around those pullback levels. And ultimately, I just have better results with my trading when I do that as well.
So, okay, so love that. I'm gonna break in here, interject a little bit.
Sure.
If you haven't heard yet, my role on the show is to basically be the devil's advocate about making sure that, you know, any terms that are thrown around are easy to understand for any level of trader coming in to listen. And so when I hear things that, well, for one, I'm not super familiar with, then I would just love to have you break them down. I did find the half and whole dollars thing really interesting, because that's something I haven't necessarily heard of before.
Yeah, same here.
But when you said it, it made a lot of sense that, like, psychologically, someone, just like in a store when they price something at $3.99 instead of $4 or whatever, that kind of like psychological number selling and buying, that, you know, that one I picked up on a little bit. But I just really briefly, I'd love for you to just kind of take some of those like pullback, and you mentioned what was the other one? The range
breaks. I trade confirmations, range breaks, and it's all. It might sound really confusing, but so with half and whole dollars, all I'm really looking at is major confirmed levels. So it's like if a stock goes up to $6, people see it as like a milestone in that stock's movement. So especially like when we're talking about really cheap stocks, like under $1. So if the stock is at like 90 cents. $1 is going to be a big milestone move for that stock. It's going from double digits to triple digits. You know, that break over $1 is going to bring a lot of attention towards that stock, right? So when that stock breaks $1, everybody sees that as kind of a big milestone movement, if you will, right? And so once it breaks over that $1, you know, you can build a lot of trading plans and trading strategies around that break, you know, around that kind of psychological level, because number one, when it breaks that $1, other traders are seeing it now. It's kind of a big sparking catalyst, if you will, that other traders are watching for, as well as just a lot of the time, technical analysis is simply self-fulfilling. So it works because other people think it works, basically. And so if everybody thinks stocks are going to bounce at half and whole dollars, you know, buyers come in there and it consequently bounces at half and whole dollars. And so a lot of it is self-fulfilling as well. And traders watch half and whole dollars. They trade and play off of those half and whole dollars. And so with that, a lot of times you'll see buys come in after a half or whole dollar break, and sometimes even a $0.25 break. And that'll give it some upward momentum in your direction that you can play off of and trade it off of, basically. The other one I think you asked was about ranges. Ranges, I'm just looking for range breaks. And so regardless of what that range is, whether it's a long-term range or a short-term range, I'm just trying to identify an obvious range that other traders can see, because like I said earlier, it's self-fulfilling. So it's like if other traders see a range and then it breaks out of that range, it's logical to assume that other traders are going to buy it once that range breaks and have a more bullish or, a more upward sentimenting, mental mindset, if you will. And then, if it breaks below a specific range that it's been holding in for a certain period of time, again, it's logical to assume that people are going to see it weaker after that, and people are going to be more prone to selling their long positions, which might drag the stock down, or shorting the stock as well, which can drag it down. And so those are kind of ways I'm playing off of those ranges. And it's really nuanced, to be honest, but, basically that's kind of what I'm doing there, is playing off of those type of levels.
I love that you pointed out that basically it works because all the traders think that it works. That's the, it was kind of funny, but it makes sense, right?
Mentality.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Sure.
trade off of what the majority of people use to trade off of, and that's probably is what's going to work. And that was like a little gem of knowledge right there. So I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
huge.
It's interesting because it's like people think it, regardless of anything, it works, right? So if it works, it works. You can't really knock it. And even if it's only working because people think it works, still works, and I'm happy with it.
True.
So okay, so we have something noted here, and again, back to the basics. Can you define support and resistance, and how do they come into play in your trading?
Okay, so most of the time, people are going to define support as a level that has historically caused the stock to bounce, right? So if a stock pulls down to $3, for instance, just to give an example, and the stock bounces at $3, and the stock had bounced at that $3 level historically, then with technical trading, most people's mindset is that it has the potential to bounce again at that specific level. Now we're using that, and then resistance is the same thing. If a stock goes up to $4 and every time it hits 4, it pulls back down, then most traders are going to look at it and say, okay, well, it has some resistance at $4. So it's just historical movement that we're analyzing. And with that said, it doesn't always mean that if it bounced at a specific level that it's going to bounce there again. But, you kind of, with trading, and especially technical trading, you kind of combine a lot of different things. You combine extension, you combine historical movement with support and resistance. And so you're kind of building this big playbook this big analyzation on whether you think you should take the trade in a specific direction. And, support and resistance is kind of certainly one part of that, looking to see if it has historically bounced or if it's historically respected specific levels. That's all really support and resistance is historical levels and how the stock has acted at those levels previously.
Nice. I think that was like as clear as I could get.
Nice and concise.
That was
Love
brilliant.
it.
Yeah. Love it.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah, I loved how that was just kind of like a natural coverage of like the charts where you break in, how you set up that break in the range. I love that. Perfect.
When I came into this episode, like a quick note, like I honestly expected to be a very confused man, right? Like, and I probably will happen again once we get into options and things like that. And I'm sure there's plenty of this stuff that can be confusing. And charting and all that, it seems like this big scary thing. But then when John explains it, I don't know, it just in practice, I'm sure I would be a little more confused still. But as a starting point, in theory, I think he did a really great job of explaining some of those things, and it makes it seem a lot less scary to me. So
that was awesome. I think you did a great job of just taking because I think charts are definitely one of the more technical things that you can get into with stocks, right? I think you did an awesome job of just like simplifying it and making it like easy to understand. And that's like, I think so. We have another question from, I think we want to ask one of our Twitter questions, because we covered like most of the chart questions that we had on our show sheet. So I want to ask one of these Twitter questions from the Curly Gal Investor, and she said, "How does a trader view?" Not sure if we want to delve into that, or if we can. But she also asked what indicators you look for when you're determining possible trend, possible breakup, what you look for when you're evaluating, you know, kind of how to play a strategy on a stock more or less, and kind of see if we can get an answer there.
Yeah, for sure. So TraderView is actually really easy to set up. I don't know if y'all want me to go in that, but TraderView is like a statistics website. So if you go to TraderView, you basically create an account, and then if you're uploading your trade data through TraderView, depending on the brokerage you have, when you go to the upload page, there should be directions on how you upload your trades into there. But I think they have a free account that you could sign up for. You know, I'm not associated with TraderView in any way, but I do use them for stats as well. But the more important question, I think, is how do you, what indicators do I use? And I think that's a really good question. My main indicator is one called the VWAP. It's the volume weighted average price. Really what it is it's an intraday trend indicator. So like if you're day trading like me and the chart looks confusing, for instance, what the VWAP does is it tells you that short-term trend of the stock. And so if the stock is maintaining over that level, it's in an upward short-term bullish trend. If it's maintaining below that level, it's in a short-term, you know, intraday downward trend. And that way, you know, you can build strategies around that. For instance, if a stock is maintaining, you know, a specific direction, really obviously, like if it pulls back to the VWAP and then continues up, and every time it does that, then you can kind of come up with a trade where, you know, if it's maintaining a trend, you just wait for it to pull back to that VWAP level, assuming that it's going to continue going up. So if it pulls back to it, it continues going up, and that way you can kind of just identify that trend with the VWAP. It's called, you know, it's called the VWAP. It's the volume weighted average price. It's really the only indicator I ever use. I'm more of a purist with indicators, so I don't have a bunch of, you know, clouding things on my chart. Most of the time I just have the VWAP, and I have like my own self-drawn support and resistance lines that I add to it so I can kind of play off of those levels. But yeah, the VWAP's my favorite. It's the king for my style of trading, I think, and it's going to be the most useful for most traders, you know, especially if they're trend trading.
Love it.
Nice.
I'll have to mess around with that then, because, well, for one, I love how it sounds. Just like, let me pull out my VWAP. Like,
My VWAP.
I can sell it well. It doesn't always follow trends though. Like sometimes stocks are going to break under it and they're going to be sideways, but it'll also identify that. So like if a stock doesn't respect the VWAP, it's neutral, it's sideways. You can't really, it's unpredictable, if you will.
that makes sense. And I feel like with any indicator, right? Like it's going to work a certain percentage of the time, or it's going to help indicate, give you an idea where to look and whatnot. But there's obviously not an indicator that's just like a yes buy or no sell, like, you know. So no, that was great. And VWAP, there you go, folks.
Love it.
Yeah.
VWAP.
That's it. That's the one. You know.
Awesome. Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. Charts, I think we got like the handle on, and like I said, you did an awesome job of covering like concisely what a beginner trader would have. You have anything more for John? Just like questions on charts?
Yeah, I mean, like charts. So here's my thing: is like, John, I know you're doing some stuff with Benzinga, and couldn't be more excited to see that stuff. I'm thinking we might have to bring him on in the future again, or something like that. If you'd like us, you like hanging out with us, because you know, as we get into more complicated stuff, or if more Twitter questions hit us, then we know who to call, right? So
hey, I'm certainly down. You know,
there
I
we
love
go.
What Benzinga's doing. I think they're a great resource for traders too. So yeah, anytime. You know.
Awesome.
Amazing. All right, John. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but appreciate you coming out, and I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed yourself as well.
Hey, absolutely. I appreciate y'all having me and giving me this platform. Y'all have a good day, and yeah, love being on here. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time, I guess.
You too, man. Have a good night. See
you
you
guys.
Okay, Michael, that was pretty sweet, and I know I say this every week, but we just get the best guests.
We have a run. We've got like 4 in a row. I mean, ever since we started, like 1 episode to episode 4, it's been great every single time.
You know what?
Honestly.
We're gonna keep them coming, and it's no thanks, or how do you say that? It's
no small part thanks to.
Aha! I always say it wrong, and that's in no small part thanks to our wonderful producer and editor, Franny Lewis.
Shout out.
For booking some amazing, absolute bangers of guests. And John, thank you. You know, like, for coming on. I know I already said it, but
awesome guest, man.
Awesome, and I was really excited to hear. Like I was genuinely very intrigued by what he had to say about charting, and the way he presented those ideas to me. It wasn't scary. So
no, I loved it. They made it super simple. It was super like easy to just understand how you can break down something as technical as charts, but just make it simple. You know, I didn't even know most of what he talked about, so I learned a ton. I mean, not that I know a lot anyway, but yeah, that was awesome.
Wow, I don't even have to roast you this week. You
Yeah,
did
I know.
it to yourself.
See, I did it to myself ahead of time before you could do it to me.
Is that your new strategy?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Don't
get
worry,
to it
I'll
first.
get you.
I'm gonna cut myself off at the pass. Just do it to myself.
All right, folks. Now, what we usually like to do is just do a quick check-in on the portfolio. Now, this has been, a bloodbath of a week.
It's been a red week, man.
I've been hearing a lot about it on the office. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
my portfolio not in good condition, but it seems like that's the shared consensus by everyone. How are things going for you? I heard oil's doing pretty okay.
I do have a couple oil stocks. I've got a couple of oil stocks. One of them is PTR, an oil stock in China. They're doing good. They're on a rip this week. At a good day today. Kind of balanced out the rest of like the catch up. Just soaking my portfolio. I've got energy stocks down. I've got cannabis stocks down. I've got solar stocks down. It's a little ugly. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little wretched, but next week is a new week. It was a red week this week. We bounced back with green next week. At least that's what I choose to believe.
Yeah, I mean, well, you got to be positive, and you know what? It seems like ever since I started, I've had nothing but a downward facing chart on my account overview. But a couple stocks I'm looking at and I'm interested, and we did have some people pitch some stocks in the Discord, so we have a little trading ideas page in there. Shout out our Discord. Make sure you join it if you want to be part of this amazing community. So I'm definitely looking into some of those, but two that have just been pitched around on Benzinga, and I'm just like I'm going to do some more research this weekend, and probably as we're part of this dip, might as well buy the dip.
Buy it now
and wait for that rip or just hold. But it's going to be Dermatech, DMTK. I think that's the one. And so we had Pharma DC pitch that one, and we also had Jonah Lupton. I hope that I said that right, because I'm just totally calling that from memory right there. But two people pitch it on the show, and it made sense to my newbie brain. So I'm gonna be looking at that, and then one that I'm super behind because, okay, I don't love to drink these. I try to avoid it, but sometimes when you're doing this job, it helps.
I sponsored you with that one today.
He sponsored me with this one, and it was a nice little surprise, and it made my day better. So thank you, Michael. But I prefer not this brand. I prefer something a little bit more healthy. Not Bang.
Bang.
Bang is like, Bang's rough. It hits, but anyway, I'm rambling. What I mean to say is Celsius, the energy drink, if you've heard of it. Michael hasn't liked his experience with it thus far.
Nope.
But I tried the orange one. The orange flavor sucked, but I did like the kiwi guava one, and there's hope for it yet. And again, Jonah Lupton, I hope I'm getting that right, made a really good case for it today, basically, pointing out how Monster stock has been one of the better performing stocks of the last, 20 years or something, however many years.
I like Celsius stock. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
And so it's down right now, and I'm thinking that's what I'm looking at. That's the trading idea right there.
I dig it. I'm looking at solar stocks again because I know they're down today, but I've got a couple, including Enphase, which is one I've plugged from the first show, which I love Enphase long term. I think it's gonna have some room to come back next week. I think it's a good entry point this week because I was bought into it probably 3 weeks ago. I've got a dip in it right now, so I'm gonna try and average out my overall shares. I put in an order today. I'm gonna try and average that out to this lower price point. Hopefully bounce back next week. I think there's a lot of positive progress for solar that's gonna come in next week. Like we're probably gonna see some tariffs that are probably gonna fall off, and hopefully some progress as far as opening up as far as solar and some more energy back in that sector. So I'm gonna try and average it out and see what happens, or it'll just drop lower and it'll be a total fail. But
hey, listen, I think if it drops, it drops, but I think solar is here to stay for sure. When it makes its comeback, I don't know. I'm not the expert on that, but I'll tell you this much: is just from a where the world is going case, we're gonna be solar's
it's a
gonna
solar
go.
world. Yeah.
It's an alternative energy world. We might be seeing a kickback to oil right now because of the weird weather and everything, but I definitely believe in solar.
It's the future, 100%.
So there we go. Sounded like I actually knew what I was talking about for a couple seconds there.
That was
didn't I?
intelligent. Nice call. Yeah.
Wow.
Listen to Rohan every week for prime stock advice and prime life advice and everything else that you could need.
There we go. There we go. All right, folks. Well, I think that just about does it for this week's episode. And we might have some more bloopers at the end here because you know what? Michael and I can't seem to get through an episode without making an absolute fool of ourselves. So we might have a little treat for you there. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Leave some comments, questions. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Hey, in 2 days, what is this, Wednesday? On Friday, I will be picking my funniest review on Apple Podcasts and personally sending you guys a nice little donation of $50 on Venmo for the funniest one. So
You mean after you posted my ransom message in the Discord and it got 0 likes?
yeah, Michael
And
said he
anything?
wasn't going to come back to the show if people didn't leave enough reviews. He said
Honestly,
he was going to
I'll do it. I'll disappear. I'll leave.
And like, I'm okay with that, but I know you guys probably aren't.
No, I think everyone's okay with it, and I'm probably going to do it. I'm probably just going to disappear.
Oh my god. But yes, please, we'd like to see some more reviews because it helps us grow, it helps this show grow, it helps our community grow. And so if you enjoy watching, then please take 2 seconds. There's a link in the description. Leave a review. Listen there if you don't have time to watch. And with that, I think that just about does it. Mike, any final thoughts?
It's Friday night. I'm going to go to sleep.
I'm sure you're gonna go to sleep.
Yeah,
Mike,
at some point
Mike never stops working, but
at some point I will go to
at
sleep.
some point he'll go to sleep. All right, well, we'll see you next week, and happy trading.
Peace out.
All right, ready?
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, that was a question.
Yeah, sorry, that was
directed at you.
interrogative and I did not notice. Oh my god, holy fuck. Okay.
Podcasting, video podcasting format. We are often doing the same thing, but just not on a recording. And I really don't know what I'm saying. What up? You know what? We're gonna cut that part.
You want to redo that one?
I'm gonna redo that one.
Dude, it's hot up here. Anyway.
Do you have these guns, Mike Murray? Huh?
Dude,
Do you have?
I have. Can you see
do you
that?
have these?
Can you see that? Look at that. Yeah, there's a big difference.
Game face. Put it like skirt. Why do I do this to myself?
Why?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Welcome to TraderTV.live. We're seeing North American stock futures slightly lower heading into Friday's session this morning, coming off positive showing on Thursday. A bit of a reversal for tech stocks this morning, all because of another jump in bond yields. We're seeing the 10-year back towards that 1.6% level, multi-week highs, in fact, for the 10-year after a couple of days. We did see a bit of a pullback. So we'll monitor that situation this morning. The positivity yesterday followed news that President Joe Biden would sign and did sign after market yesterday a $1.9 trillion stimulus package, COVID stimulus package, gross